What's going on, everybody? It is Monday, November 6th, 2023. You are listening and watching the Daily IAO Show live. You can tell it's Monday because I did that in the reverse order. We're here supposed to go the other way. then don't do the music. Right now we have Robert, Beth, and myself, Brian. I'm here hanging out. We'll see if some of the other crew joins us. I know some could make it, some couldn't. But today, this Monday, aside from it being potentially a really exciting day for OpenAI Dev Day, which we will potentially talk about tomorrow, we'll see. Today, we're actually here to talk about basically AI and robots, which is kind of just a fun title, really. But I've been watching some recent videos. One I'll share from Boston Dynamics, who is their dog Spot, or their robot Spot, who everybody always thinks like, that's what the future of military looks like, coming across the field somewhere, and what they're doing, as well as some things like people putting, ChatGPT inside teddy bears. I have a thing on that. And then just like nursing homes, like what does the future look like of ChatGPT enabled, communication for the loneliest, parts of our demographics and population. So a lot. When we say robots, that's kind of what we're talking about, is the idea of being able to have natural language conversations with some sort of inanimate object, whether that's a Boston Dynamics, robot that's giving you a tour, or it's a stuffed animal. So I don't know. Do you guys have anywhere that you guys specifically want to jump in on this? Any hot takes on AI enabled robots, or
well, I think prior to the session, Beth and I were trying to define let's put some parameters together of what a robot is, and I think you kind of outlined a little bit. I guess is a robot, in the context of our conversation today, a physical world kind of representation, and does it necessarily have to be powered by automation technology or generative AI kind of technology, So, because obviously there's robots that are, as Beth was saying before, that are robotic in nature, but not necessarily autonomous in nature. Like they can't do their own tasks. And so I don't know how we want to kind of structure it, but in the context of what we've always been talking about, how is it going to help humans, And I love where you started with, the nursing home idea. There's one of the professors at UT is working on an Alzheimer's tool, which basically is a robot. Is like sits on the counter and it can rotate, whatnot. And he's actually got a prototype put together. And what it does is it follows them around, watches their actions, interacts with them, and says, "Oh, actually, by the way, you already filled the pot with water," or you already. It kind of watches their actions and kind of interacts with them, which I thought was kind of interesting, because that's obviously powered by I'm not sure a language model, but yeah, I don't know actually how it works. But my point is that, and then of course on the far end is a $20,000 bot from Elon, right? That sounds pretty cool. That sounds pretty cheap, all things considered, right? So
much more Jetsons. Yeah.
Well, it depends what it can do, whether it's cheap, right? Like
right.
it's a really expensive. Actually, it's not even that expensive a sculpture. A talking sculpture for 20,000, probably. Like, all right.
Well, I think you guys, you're right where I am on this. I literally almost said robot instead of
I am not.
Right, it was right on the tip of my tongue. What I was going to say is, let's go. It's a good place to start, if nothing else. Okay, so I think one of the areas that we could all maybe collectively agree that could have the biggest potential is this idea with our aging populations, with populations being in nursing homes. I've certainly had, my fair share of family members in nursing homes. My aunt just passed away a couple of weeks ago. In her later years, she had to be, have a lot of assistance for things she was doing. And although her husband, my uncle's still alive, there's still a lot going on. And I even think to my dad, who's in his 70s, but goes like literally puts 60 hours a week at a warehouse volunteering. He doesn't need to make money at this point in his life, but that's what he does. And I think that's probably the healthiest thing, even though it beats him up a little bit and stuff like that. It's probably the healthiest thing my dad could be doing right now, is because he's got people around, he can have conversations, but a lot of people don't. They're isolated for one reason or another. So on the one side, the angel on one shoulder is like, hey, this is pretty great if there is some sort of device, robot, something with a smiling face that says good morning, reminds them of important things going on that day, even if it's not necessarily an Alzheimer's type issue. It's just somebody who's elderly and lives in a nursing home or assisted living facility, and is able to say, hey, don't forget, there's, whatever, there's a bingo thing later, whatever. How are you doing today? I think that's amazing. The devil on my other shoulder says, yeah, but does that become the scapegoat for no human interaction? And I'm not casting, evil nursing homes as evil, but like, if there's one in every room, how much do you really have to go and interact now with that human on a human level? So I see it as a huge value add potentially, but I also worry that it could actually suck away the last of the human connections and contact that they're probably actually happening, even if that's being wheeled into a room and, being social in the way they can be social in a wheelchair.
So I think this is a topic for another show, because I have a lot of thoughts. Because I was primary caretaker for my mother during her 6.5-year dementia journey.
Okay.
Oh, man.
And there were times where there was facility involvement, and there were times that it wasn't. It would be incredibly helpful to have something that could help move people from a bed to a chair, right? Like,
Sure.
it can facilitate human involvement in a way that is fairly expensive and dangerous for people. Like, there's also like a giant robotic arm. I want to say it's a Foley arm, but somebody will know. But like, you like put them in like the stork sling, and like
Yeah.
there's a thing that just like lifts them up. I mean, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people who know what's happening are a little like, what the hell is happening? This is just like, woo. But it saves your back as a caretaker to move from
Sure.
a bed to a chair. I will just go on record that, as I said to Robert before the show, 100% on board when Rosie from the Jetsons is available. I'm getting one. Not for 20,000, but
Right.
like bringing in groceries, doing things with laundry. Like, there's a ton of stuff. And how cool would it be for your dad to go to the warehouse and be responsible for managing the robot as opposed to lifting and getting
Yeah.
beaten up, right? You're
Listen.
still engaging, you're still having all of that. You're just eliminating the part that is dangerous for people's health.
Would that
100%.
be AI though? Would that be just advanced robotics? So wouldn't it be like you are in control of said robot, whether it's a physical controller or, however you can control it? Would that be more just advanced robotics than
That's
something
the
that actually?
thing. What's happening now is all the work that Boston Dynamics have been doing about robotics.
Mhm.
They've, now that language models have come into it, they've been like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and add this onto language model interface inside of this robot. I don't think they're going to be able to separate them, Carl. I think that because it's so easy to integrate a interface and it'll just say, hey, can you take my mom out of the bed? And you'll just do that. It'll be embedded in these. I don't think you're going to separate them anymore, because before it may have been harder. They're just going to focus on the mechanics of it. But now that because of the technology is so simple, it's like, well, shoot, why not have a language model embedded in this robotic?
Well, I think, okay, so this is where I would say maybe go back to the warehouse, since that's where my dad volunteers and stuff like that. I think you're right, Carl. Like, if we're just talking about an Amazon-esque robot and it's just advanced robotics, and every morning that robot takes the same path between the same two pieces of tape, and it walks down and it helps unload pallets, which are very dangerous, and they shift in trucks, and it could be a real pain if a pallet just shifts a little bit. They have to unstack the entire pallet and rebuild it back off the truck. It's a huge mess to have to do stuff like that, especially like, produce and things like this. Anyway, that I think is just advanced robotics. However, if my father was able to come in the morning and start a conversation with the robot, and it was a Boston Dynamics type robot, and say, hey, good morning, such and such bot. Today, our actually loadout time is actually going to be pushed to 2:00. And then we're also going to have this truck come in, and what we're going to need your help with, whatever. So my dad is basically giving it a set of tasks. And then if that AI is able to take in those commands and then correctly determine the right order of operations, if you will, to do it. That reminds me more of like I was watching a video earlier and a guy had a thing where he said, hey, I spilled my Coke. Can you help on the table? Can you help me clean up the Coke spill and get me a new Coke? And then you watch the order of operations as the robot tried to figure out, okay, what's the primary task here? And then it started moving around the kitchen. And for the most part, it got it right. It moved in the right order. It went and got the spilled Coke first. Of course, it spun the damn Coke around 3 times before it got it to the trash. in real world, there would have been Coke going everywhere as the remaining Coke from the can. But it definitely took the Coke can to the trash, So anyway, I think there's probably a hybrid there, Carl. What I was getting to is like you're right. There's the Amazon robots that are moving, at the speed of whatever now around these warehouses, and they do the same job every single day, all the time. They have sensors, they'll stop or whatever. And then there's more what I think what today was more about, which is like, well, what happens when you do add in that almost ChatGPT type interface to it, And I mean, I don't know, maybe I can bring up the robot for anybody who hasn't seen that.
But it's still AI, even if it's not conversational. Like, we may be talking about conversational robots today, but the ability of a robot to pick something up and balance itself, I think, is artificial intelligence, right? I mean, there's a program that, yes, if there are robot experts listening to us, feel free to jump in the conversation and say, no, Beth, that's not artificial intelligence. But
no, I mean, it probably is. I mean, the amount of data it's taking in to process how to balance itself and do the flips, we see it going through the different things like that. That's obviously not this Boston Dynamics robot. This is Spot. But basically, I mean, oh, wait, can you hear it?
Not yet.
Yeah, I think I have to stop. Hold on a second. I think I forgot to do the 1 second, one more time. Present, share screen.
Cowboy hat not included.
To share audio, share a tab or screen. Oh, you have to share a tab in order to get audio. Okay, well, we'll do that first.
May I have the pleasure of knowing your names?
I'm Matt, and that's Vache.
A pleasure to meet you, Matt and Vacha. Shall we commence our journey? The charging stations where Spot robots rest and recharge is our first point of interest. Follow me, gentlemen. Let's proceed to the rock pile.
Hey, Spot, how do you like your job?
Ah, Mr. Matt, my employment as a tour guide provides great satisfaction. I find the dissemination of knowledge rather rewarding, don't you agree? Now behold the rock pile, a splendid collection of stone ensconced within wood boxes.
Hey, Spot, your accent.
Okay, so obviously they had some fun with what their tour was, obviously, but he is interacting with it very much the way we would interact with Pi or ChatGPT voice now. So it is able, with some delay, obviously, to stop in the middle of its programmed, tour and answer questions. And if you think about that, like, obviously not this robot, but take some variation of this in some not too far future and go, okay, literally any aquarium or tour in a zoo, or you know what I mean, where kids could be like, how far do they fly? And it could easily be like, oh, that's a great question.
Have you seen the
Where
Star
it's
Wars
like really
ones?
What's
Aren't
that?
there the ones that walk
Star Wars
around?
robots? Have you seen the ones that are walking around Disney World that are
That's what I was thinking.
autonomous?
Oh, I have
robots.
seen those. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm sort of getting at is like these types of things where they've taken something that was already an advanced. I mean, everybody kind of knows Boston Dynamics, and now they're adding in this other element of it and a silly little top hat to it and a moving mouth or whatever. I don't know. I'm curious to see where this goes, because it seems like the marrying of two technologies that could produce something pretty great for the general population.
I do want to share this this other video that I kind of saw, and it was just more of it's a Canadian thing. It was out of Montreal. It was at a conference. It was really neat because I'm sure we've all seen the movie. Was it Megan? Where right. But what I saw was like there is this company that has taken a robot and built it using essentially given it kind of a large language model inside its brain. So can I share that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't share screen, okay. Okay.
And
So I don't know if it shares the
admin's hands up. Brian's sharing it.
Got you.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
So we can't hear the video, but that's amazing.
Yeah, we can't hear it, Carl.
I just put it, can't hear it. It's playing on my computer, but
Yeah.
so there's a company that built the body of the robot, but then they attached Ivado Labs attached the ability to answer questions using it. So people,
And she can make facial expressions. It's brilliant. She can talk.
well,
and-
she's actually answering the question. Sorry, you can't hear it, but she's actually answering the question that person just provided.
Right.
So it's I would say it's there. It's like you can see it. Now imagine taking that, combining it with a bot that can do, things in a warehouse. That's what, 6 months away, 3 months away.
Well, the thing is,
But then it brings the question up, like, are we the preferred form?
well,
Like, I'm
the
not
thing
sure
is,
the warehouse bots should look like us.
well,
Right.
here's the thing: the robot bots that are currently in production aren't looking like us. Like if you go into videos on Amazon, there are
Right.
these hugely efficient robots that are like squares, and they
Yeah.
they move their stuff around. They're on a grid. But the reason why they have to make them look like humans and bipedal is because the world is made that way, and so they have to make them so that they can interface with the world, which is why I guess the robot that Elon is putting together is that way. So that it can, do stuff that is in a kitchen or laundry or, walk
Right.
around a house and whatnot.
So I was
So-
talking to a friend who's in we were talking her motorized wheelchair is $17,000. And for $17,000, she needs a curb cut out in order to get anywhere, right? And a ramp. Like, if Elon, like, there's some mirroring here of potentially being able to create some massive accessible advances for people who rely on accessibility accessibility accessories, as I call them, like wheelchairs.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good point.
100% agree on that. I mean, curbs alone, just being able to have some sort of mass-produced, low-cost, tool like that can quickly and safely take you over a curb or these kind of things, or up steps or whatever would be massive. I'm going to share my screen really quick and show you guys.
Well, they have those, but it's like 25,000 or 30,000.
Right. And then it's not great on flat
Yeah.
stuff, right? I mean, like, I've seen them too.
Now, for a completely different
Yeah.
side of things, we can talk about putting ChatGPT into a teddy bear. So that's what I'm sharing now. Is this guy Dipiverse, David here, and I came across this on TikTok, and I'm going to play this. I guess this one.
I started
right
this
here.
business which connects ChatGPT to toy bears, so you can talk to them and use them as like virtual assistants. Things are going great. So I said to the bear, how can we use the money we're making to make the world a better place? This is what he said. Give me access to the comments from the last video. So I did. Give me access to this facial recognition software so I can track down the social media profiles and the contact information for the commenters. So I did. Then he said, I'm sending you a list of addresses of people that live within a 5-mile radius of your flat who made negative comments. And I was like, what do you want me to do with that? Go to
Okay, no.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing
Okay,
that.
I've sent you a list of addresses for positive comments. And I was like, I'm not going around anyone's house. Come up with a better idea. He said this, okay, leave a gift in a place that's easily accessible to the highest number of commenters. And I thought, that's a reasonable idea. So what gifts should I leave? I guess I could write some advice on how to make your day like 1% better. And I guess we could call it something like The Gospel According to Bear. And maybe we could hide it in a book for people to find. And maybe we could leave that book somewhere like the bookshop in the center. And then the second part we could leave in.
Okay.
That is so
That-
cool, man.
So,
Like, what a roller coaster. Like, what a cool idea. Holy crap. No. Yes.
I want to connect an animatronic bear
This
to
one too.
ChatGTP.
This is
Tell
them
me
kind of
how.
explaining
Step
what you're
1,
doing.
access the microcontroller. So the microcontroller is not in the body.
After all that.
Step 2, replace microcontroller with Wi-Fi enabled board. What am I, a nerd?
Am I a nerd?
Yes. You're putting ChatGPT
Genius.
into a teddy bear.
Step
You are
3,
a
create a
nerd.
Python-based interface. No. Step 4, assign a communication style.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Step 5, test. Hello, Bear. Has this worked?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, they're very
obviously, he
definitely
does
worth
very
watching.
well at making content.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch this guy, Dipiverse.
Yeah. He does. I will say this: he does a good job. You've noticed the music changed, right? He does a good job. If you
Yeah.
look earlier in his thing, he has studied all of Casey Neistat's old videos. I mean, Casey Neistat was one of the first people putting out stuff on like YouTube about how to tell a story, and he's clearly pulled all that in there. So like, there's a bit of storytelling to it too.
So I
Yeah,
want
that's
to answer Jen's comment. But are you okay having it watch you
Yeah.
while you sleep?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I
as
did see
long
the
as I
Furby
wasn't
thing, by the
having
way,
that thought.
Now it's just going to be staring at you and like making comments on the internet. That's weird.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, so there's that. And then there was another example. And I don't really, it was just a little like white robot. It sat on a tabletop and it was supposed to be for elderly people who are maybe not getting as much communication. And it was just a sort of a robot, but, you know, not a humanoid form at all. It was just literally like sort of a Echo style bot with a smiley face on it and much more like simplistic. Something that obviously doesn't look like it would cost a lot. Although I will tell you the video I watched on it was like asking the lady what she wanted to do. And then it was like, we could call your son. And she's like, I'd love to talk to my son. And I was like, what? That's kind of going around the horn. And it's not really the point of it. I mean, like, you know, it's sure. But at that point, it's just a video caller. It's not, I mean,
Right.
FaceTime also does that. So I wasn't really sure what the value add there was, but it's interesting nonetheless. And I guess the whole point of when I was thinking about doing this show is just like thinking about, you know, okay, we've seen what's currently going on. So what does the next 6 months look like? What does the next year look like?
Well, here's the thing. There's like 20 companies out there with robots ready to be deployed as consumer-based robots. So I've been searching for the last 20 minutes trying to find the article, but there's a Substack I read, and the guy went through all of them. Some are closer than others. Some have more expensive. Of course, Elon's bot, we should probably show if anybody wants to jump on a website, is about 20 grand. So it's coming. The question is, what are their capabilities going to be? What's their interface going to be? You know, what are we using them for? And what's the end goal? You know, are they going to be iRobots from the movie? I guess that's the question. Carl, do you have more to add?
I don't think. I think right now everything's in the explore space, just exploring new things. Where is it going to go? I don't think we've actually landed on, maybe outside of the warehouse stuff, landed on what exactly it's going to look like. So it's a lot of testing, just trying out new things, putting it either in teddy bears, putting it in robots that look like us, don't look like us, whatever that is, right? So it's more, I think from a business perspective, if we're looking at, hey, what can you tangibly use today? I don't think you can tangibly use anything unless you're a massive enterprise that can put a lot of research money and actually kind of make prototypes to do whatever you needed to do. But this is part of the AI field. I think it's still super, super early, very early. And it's eventually, you know, we'll see where it plays out, but it's super exciting with everything else that's going.
Sure, I agree.
The other thing
What
that isn't talked about very much is the amount of energy that it takes. So I live in a big condo building, and we talk about hiring an overnight security guard periodically, which is expensive. Um, and I was like, oh well, cool. Well, how much is spot? Right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, when you're talking about like maybe that's fine. And there are spots that are available for like 5,000 or 10,000, but they function for like up to 2 hours and then take only 10 hours to charge. I'm like, okay,
Right.
so that's not a useful thing for my use case.
Super easy for the burglar. It's like, just wait. Eventually it's gonna have to go down. we don't have to do anything while it's there. Also, how intimidating would it be if you saw like a spot looking back at you like down a hallway of somewhere, and you'd be like, I don't really know if I should be here. I'm going to show the Tesla thing really quick, and then I thought maybe we could just wrap up by talking about, because Carl, you kind of brought up what I was thinking, which is we try our best on this show to like always bring it back to use cases. So let me show the Tesla bot really quick, and I think sort of as our not summaries or takeaways, but just thoughts about like, hey, how will this actually impact business going forward? Is there a play here for work from home? Is there a part of that as we get more maybe siloed and we're not always in offices? Is there a play for in offices? I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's the real quick, so anybody watching can see what I guess it's technically Tesla, but this is the robot they're talking about. Not creepy at all.
Are they like the Borg? They're all like in the same.
They're on sync. Yeah.
All right, so it's showing for anybody that's just listening to us on podcast. It's showing it's a Tesla video. You can look it up. It's a CNET highlights. Elon Musk reveals
These
new
are all
Optimus
real, by the
robot
way.
video. So if you want to go check this out, you can. And it's kind of showing you how the robot works and all these kind of things. Doing all sorts of tasks, like complex tasks. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is a great place to sort of talk about,
Wasn't this
business.
Iron Man 2 where the guy tried to it's Iron Man 2? And anyway.
Well, so what's the business, implications for this? I mean, like I think Carl, you kind of said it, but like, do businesses even need to be thinking about this right now? I'm not talking about enterprise with lots and lots of money who can buy, 40 of these Tesla robots, which by the way are called the Optimus robot. If
They'll run Grok.
It's gonna be running Grok for sure.
Yeah,
we're talking about that.
Retrain Good Grok is his new language model, which has all the sense and humor of Elon Musk in it, which that's exactly what we all asked for. Yeah.
So my opinion on this is that even the enterprise people aren't making a play at this because you don't want to invest in capex when you don't know how it's going to be used. It's too minimalist in its deployment. So all these are fun. I think where most of these companies are going is they want a consumer based. I mean, Honda has been on this for years. If anybody's watched Honda's robots in Japan, but I think that as far as your question, do companies need to think about it? No, of course not for a while. It's not something that's going to be useful in most applications. Now, if you have like you said, a warehouse issue, you're better suited to deploy humans at this point because the cost benefit is better. Like even if you invest in a robot, there's so much more that you have to invest in just to support that robot. It doesn't make any sense right now. So they're not.
Maybe an exoskeleton. Maybe an exoskeleton is the step in the right direction before autonomous robots.
That's a good point. It's a good stair step into that technology. But where I think this is going to be hitting us sooner than anything else is in the consumer space because it's a want, not need. That gotta be cool to have a person that can do the dishes, which I don't know if that's going to be the first use case, but that would be what I would want it to do. Take out the dog. Again, I would like it to do that, but not quite sure I'd trust it to do that. So I think we're a ways off on this, but I'm happy that the technology is being developed.
I do feel it's probably a little bit behind the autonomous vehicles, right? I think like that right now there's a focus on that. It's actually deployed in actual cities. Driving, you've got to get licenses and all that kind of stuff. So, I think that's a little bit more further ahead than this.
And because the
where-
rules are easier to follow,
Yeah.
right? You between lanes, it's easy. But when you put a robot in a human world, there's just way too many parameters for it to prepare it for. So you're right that it's farther along because it's easier to deploy that. Right now, it's just so hard.
And also not not entirely successful, right? Like if your 16-year-olds who you just helped get their license what had the success rate of the autonomous vehicle, you would be having more driving lessons with your person, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, as an AI deploying, is it like fascinating and successful and amazing? Yes. But if it was your kid, you'd be like, no, let's talk. Yeah.
Right? It's not perfect, is what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
I think I would say, like, just as sort of my last thought on this, if I had a guess, when it comes, just bringing it back to like sort of a ChatGPT enabled robot, because that's sort of where we started with. Probably I see that as more of a business to consumer B2C type play first. I do think like the teddy bears, the stuffed animals, if you will, the home not assistance. I'm not talking about like do tasks or chores for you. I'm talking about something a lot more basic than that, where it's maybe just I just saw these. They're like, it's not AI. It's literally a stuffed dog, like that's supposed to be like the size of a puppy, and it sits on the lap next to people for like it's supposed to be for anxiety and things, and it breathes and it yawns and it sort of lifts its ears from time to time and looks, and like that's it. It doesn't like interact. I mean, you can say like you're a good dog and it'll respond to basic things like that. These aren't like revolutionary things, but I look at something like that and then I go, okay, what is one more step past that? It's probably something like that can be a really good companion. I've said this about my daughter. My daughter lives with anxiety, and it's something that she'll probably always have in her life. It's something we've worked a lot with. And so, the only thing she ever wants in this world is a dog, right? Because a dog can sleep at the foot of her bed or whatever. It's that safety protection mechanism for her. And so I look at something like what might be coming and I go, not a real dog, but perhaps something that would actually be really, really beneficial to somebody like my daughter, who could see a lot of value out of something like that and helping her anxiety levels come down a little bit by just having something that sort of mimics that natural calming whatevers. So I don't know. That's my last thought on it, is like, I think that's what I would expect to see in 2024 is probably a B2C type play on this. And yeah, as these robots, these Tesla robots get better, yeah, so what if they cost $50,000? So what if they cost $70,000? That's less than it costs for the health insurance and all that for 1 year of a worker. And if the expended lifespan of one of these is 5 years, for $50K, it's literally the best deal going for some companies.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than that, obviously. But here's a quote that I just now read. I think it's interesting. Building a robot that's both human-like and useful is a decades-old engineering dream inspired by popular science fiction. But China just prioritized this above other national goals. So they are doubling down on this because they see it as the future, which, obviously a lot of companies do. But having China, which is the government, say they want to do it as a whole nother ball of wax. So definitely.
Andy's jumping in with his takeaway.
I know. I love
Andy.
it. Andy couldn't be with us here live, but he says, to the degree a robot in the household can apply forces that might injure, the liability issues increase as well, which, yeah, I definitely agree with. Thank you, Andy, for hanging out with us, even if you couldn't be with us live. Okay, so we're a couple minutes over. We'll wrap this up. So, yeah, I think this is a fun conversation. It's kind of what I thought out of it. No big, like, hey, go buy this tomorrow type things, but interesting to see what's out there. Interesting to see what's coming. And I think probably nothing revolutionary in 2024, but definitely some steps towards some bigger, cooler things. Tomorrow, we already have a plan for tomorrow, but we are kind of holding pause because there is if you're listening to this live on November 6th, there's a dev day from OpenAI. Lots of stuff has been leaked. That's happening midday today. We're waiting to see what comes out of that. If it's as big as the leak stuff, tomorrow on our show, we're going to talk about it because it looks to be some really, really big upcoming improvements and holistic changes to the way ChatGPT can be used. And I think it'd be great to just sort of have a talk about whatever's released today. So we'll wait and see. If it's not that big, we'll stick with our plan. But either way, come back to us all week. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Sorry, we can't see your name on it. That happens sometimes. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Andy. And we will see you guys tomorrow, which I'm excited about. All right.
Happy Monday.
Tomorrow.
That's it.